Who is the GOAT of MMA? We're not talking the baddest man on the planet. We're not talking the pound for pound king. We're not talking the champ, or the double champ. We're talking the greatest of all time. MMA fans are a lot like your team sports obsessed friend, whose mood and life outlook is dictated by how their team did from week to week. Except with MMA fans, it's on a personal level. MMA fans will look you in the eye and tell you that a guy who hasn't won a fight in 5 years is the greatest who's ever done it and the greatest who ever will do it. That's because MMA fans operate on an emotional level. They want their guy to be the best, and so for them, their guy's the best.
But what if we were able to quantify who really is the GOAT? Here at Fight Fuel MMA, anything is possible. This is Fight Fuel MMA's definitive GOAT tier list ranking. Now, before you go flaming us in the comments because my fighter didn't make the list, or this one's ranked too high, this one's ranked too low. Before you do all that, just know that this is based in science.
Science!
Yes.
Science.
Science. Why science? Well, because MMA is complicated. And to rank the GOAT, because there can be only one, you gotta take everything into consideration. Everywhere from their win-loss record, to the competition at the time, championship status, undefeated streaks, even social media presence. We have taken it all into consideration. We have 10 different scoring metrics out of 10, equaling 100. We both gave them scores. We averaged that, and we're gonna rank them on our fancy definitive GOAT MMA tier list.
We got a list. We got tiers. We got GOATs.
And we got how many GOATs?
25 GOATs. Potential GOATs, and that's a lot of GOATs, right? Here's how we got them all. We basically went through MMA history, and we took anybody who was proclaimed a GOAT by either a member of the media, MMA pundits, their management, fight promoters, themselves, and we picked the 25 best options, people who could actually have a fight to be the GOAT. And we put them in this list. And now we're going to comb through those 25 and we're going to find the MMA GOAT. And so are you, because we're right.
And wasting no time, because 25 is a lot of fighters to talk about, we're starting right off with Valentina Shevchenko.
So Valentina Shevchenko, easy choice to be in the GOAT running. She is a phenomenal fighter across genders, male, female, doesn't matter. She should be up there in your GOAT list, I think. Now, what did the metrics say?
Well, metrics, we're going to list everything down below so you can see that, actual thought, care, and consideration has went into this tier list making.
Yeah, we actually did this. I mean, mostly joy, but there's a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah, well, we're looking at the list ourselves, and from what we see, she's 23-2. Her 2 losses were to Amanda Nunes, who is really one weight class above her. She was fighting at 135 because there was no flyweight division at the time. And she lost arguably only one of those fights.
I think she lost both of them, but they were both close fights, and she's 23-2. She has a ton of professional kickboxing matches under her belt before she came to the UFC.
Yeah.
She's a dominant force at 125, from the head kick KO of Jessica I to the absolute destruction of whoever the poor girl that they gave her first at flyweight was.
Oh, yeah.
It was horrible. I forget the girl's name, but she got demolished. Shevchenko is a scary woman and definitely deserving to be on this list.
Yeah, completely dangerous in all aspects of MMA, from her striking, her vicious counter-striking, her timing, her precision, her accuracy, her grappling, her takedowns, her cage control. She has it all, and she wins so dominantly at flyweight. It's just remarkable. And the people she's beaten a lot. She almost beat Amanda Nunes. She beat Holly Holm. She beat Juliana Pena. She beat Jessica Andrade. She beat Joanna Jedrzejczyk. All of these women that have been former title holders.
Yeah, it's easy to get carried away. Maybe you like Valentina Shevchenko. Maybe she's the GOAT, just not everybody knows it. What does the metric say?
Well, she got an A. Hold on, I just gotta turn this on. Give me 1 second.
All right, we're popping this in.
And she goes in the A tier because she got an 89.37. and hey, that's good to me. She's definitely, I would say, a GOAT of her time or place. She's she is the flyweight GOAT, in my opinion.
It's definitely a possibility.
Like, no questions asked. Could she be one of the greatest female fighters of all time? Arguably, yes. Some people say yes. Some people think, other women, but she's definitely up there in contention. So
yeah, but
she
for
gets
now,
from us.
She's on the A list. She's doing just fine for herself. Now we're gonna move on to a fighter who might not be doing so well for themselves. We've got Tyron, the Chosen One Woodley.
Oh, Tyron.
Why is Tyron Woodley on this list?
Well,
you might ask.
Yeah, back in the day. Not that long ago.
Seems like forever ago.
Yeah, because of how badly he's been losing lately. He was the welterweight champion. He got his title from Robbie Lawler, knocked him out. He had 4 title defenses under his belt. At the time when he was at his peak, he was fast, he was dangerous, he had hands, he had wrestling, he had everything that you could ask for in that welterweight division. He was beating everybody. He beat Carlos Condit.
Wonder Boy, he beat Wonder Boy, draw once. He defeated him the second time.
Yeah. I mean, he lost to Rory McDonald. That's the only one I could think of at the time.
He was doing really well.
He was in talks. Even by Dana White.
Well, that's the thing. They were like, if Woodley defends a couple more times, he's going to be better than GSP. That's actually why we put him on this list, because if you're better than GSP, you might be the GOAT.
Yeah, so we wanted to put him to the test. Granted, he fell all the way off. Yeah. I would say after his underwhelming win against Wonder Boy, he kind of just looked disinterested
in fighting at all.
Yeah.
Tyron Woodley just stopped wanting to fight. He became super defensive, refusing to engage. He would spend entire rounds just backing up, not absorbing any damage.
That's kind of what we remember him as right now. But there was a time and a place when he was unstoppable.
His last fight, he tried to rectify the situation. He went out, did he get subbed or KO'd by Vicente Luque?
He almost got KO'd, but he got choked out.
Yeah, so he got rocked, and then he got choked, and he got bounced from the roster of the UFC, and went on to box Jake Paul twice.
Infamy. Losing twice.
He left carrying the hopes and dreams of every fan of MMA who also watches boxing, combat sport, and he disappointed us all terribly.
Yeah, I mean, he put on a great show. He definitely got his name out there. He got some...
You serious?
Clout, some money. He got lots of money.
He got paid.
Yeah, he has a YouTube channel. He's
a rapper.
He's pretty popular.
He's really bad.
It's a good social media engagement. So
he got knocked out by Jake Paul. I can't do it anymore. Yeah. Let's go to the metric.
He gets a C.
All right. Yeah, Tyron Woodley.
That makes sense.
You should have. You can do it this. You do it this time.
Let me do the
before
honors.
I did it.
Where are you, Tyron?
He's
there.
You are. Yeah.
Ooh, what do you know? He fell off.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
That is exactly what happened to him.
The score he gets.
So far, this metric is awesome. Sorry. Moving on. Stipe Miocic.
Why is he in this list?
Because he's really good.
Yeah, he's 20-4, and that's a pretty impressive record for a heavyweight. And he's not that big of heavyweight also.
No.
Take that into consideration.
But he's definitely on the smaller end of heavyweights.
Yeah, and he's beaten a lot of good guys. Keep in mind, he won that heavyweight title. He defended that heavyweight title more than anyone in the UFC.
Three times. Which, when you say it like that, it's not really impressive. But heavyweights knock each other out a lot. So
yeah, and the only other fighter to hold, I mean, besides Ngannou right now, Kane Velasquez, who is also, spoiler alert,
he's on the list.
He's on the list too.
He defended his title 2 times.
Yeah, that was a lot. And that was like the record until Stipe crushed it with 3. He's had wars with JDS, who was a world beater back then. He knocked out Uberim. He knocked out DC.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. He beat
Great
Ngannou.
trilogy.
He beat Verdum, who is like a sleeper heavyweight. Yeah. Stipe is the real deal.
Well-rounded.
Solid boxing. Really good wrestling, good cardio for a heavyweight.
Hard worker.
He's not good on the mic. He's not good at promoting himself.
Yeah. He's the king of Ohio, and Croatians love him. So he does have that. And besides that, it's because he doesn't really have, like, the UFC doesn't really, I feel like they believe in him, because
Because he doesn't bring in numbers on his own.
Yeah.
Instead of building him up, they're like, yeah, we don't really care if you fight, even if you are the champ.
Pretty lame what they did to him.
So that lowered his social media score. It also lowered his strength of schedule score. What did he wind up with?
He got a B. Solid B.
B in the GOAT tier list. This is not like B across all fighters.
He's
you
a
gotta
great
remember
fighter.
that.
He's not a GOAT. And I kind of agree with that.
I agree as well.
He's up there. He's up there as like
he's really good.
A great heavyweight.
He's really good.
Yeah, for sure. And we respect him.
Respect.
To Stiopic.
All right, we're moving on.
Moving on. Now this one's gonna be funny.
This is that emotion we're talking about before, because we got Royce Gracie is on the list.
Yes, he is on the list.
Destroyer.
How did he make this list? Because he was the first.
He destroyed people in UFC 1 through 4. Big guys.
Yeah.
Guys who could fight, guys who couldn't fight. He beat them all. He tapped them all, and he looked like a stick man in a gi.
It was the premise. It was the whole premise of the UFC was on the back of Royce Gracie, and Royce Gracie winning that first tournament. They were talking about him at that time like he was the greatest martial artist of all time.
Well, that was it. They were saying, no, jiu-jitsu is the best martial art, and Royce is the best martial artist ever.
Now, keep in mind, this is a totally different time. This is UFC 1. This is UFC 2. UFC 4. The first ever UFCs, the primordial soup of MMA, right? And he won tournaments. Now, picture a fighter today having to fight several times in one day. That's crazy to think about now.
Yeah, this is something some fighters are like, ooh, I'd like to try that, and a lot of fighters are like, miss me with that. It was entirely different.
Most fighters take months off, unless you're Hamza or Cowboy, take a couple days off, but most fighters take like at least 2 months or so off in between fights. Could you imagine 4 fights in one night or something like that?
But that's why he's on this list, because it's not his giant record. It's not that he had the most fantastic finishes. It's just he was there in the beginning, and he kind of laid the blueprint for how to win a mixed martial arts bout.
Yeah,
what did that get him? Well, jiu-jitsu, poha. What did that get him on the list, on the metric?
Well, I mean, it was a different time back then. We got to take that into consideration. He doesn't really have much of a media presence. I mean, he is a very well-known name in the jiu-jitsu community, of course. Like, he popularized jiu-jitsu across America, arguably. So he does make it to this, GOAT list.
Yeah, but he got a 56.75.
He got a D.
He got a D. He can't strike.
Yeah. Oh, his striking is so bad.
Not the greatest strength of schedule. It's just totally different. I don't want to talk bad about Royce because he's a legend.
He is a legend.
But he got a D. So if you were emotionally tied to watching those first UFCs like we are, like I was, I remember watching them, you got to get over it. It can't be Royce. Sorry. Yeah. Next up.
Moving on. We got, speaking of,
emotional ties.
Now, on paper, her record isn't that great. She's 11-5. She hasn't fought that much. She's still very young. However, man, she has done some great things in the strawweight division. She's the first 2-time champion ever as a female fighter in the UFC. So that's remarkable. She got the title twice. She beat Joanna Jedrzejczyk twice when Joanna was unbeatable.
Yeah.
She's also beat Weili Zhang twice, which, man, Weili's looking so good lately.
She looked terrifying her last fight.
Oh my gosh, she obliterated Joanna in her last fight and had great showing. It's just, Rose is capable of so much.
But she can't put it all together. Her record indicates that. I think her emotions mess her up while fighting. Some complicated stuff going on in the background. She's not a GOAT. She's awesome, and some fighters think she's the best strawweight out there, but just based on everything, she is nowhere near a GOAT, and she wound up getting... What did she get?
She got a D.
She got a D.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I think she's a great fighter.
Well, I mean, that's people
Definitely
getting angry about that, too. I don't know.
Well,
we should have voice in Rose's fight.
The score-wise, she's a good voice.
Fair enough.
Okay, we're going by score.
Are these alphabetical? What are we doing here? Are these we got another R. We got
Ronda
Rousey.
Yeah, Ronda Rousey.
Or Ronda Rousey.
Now, she, without question, belongs on this list for so long, for so many years. She was the backbone of women's mixed martial arts. She exploded onto the scene, grabbing a bronze medal, first American to ever do that in judo in 2008. and she transitioned into MMA so seamlessly. She would get in there, armbar, and get out fast.
Yeah.
And in even getting some TKOs also along the way. She was the Strikeforce champion. Then she turned that into the UFC championship once the UFC created a female division just because of her.
First women's fight in the UFC ever.
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey versus Liz Carmouche. And like Joe was saying, what got her to the dance was her judo, and what kept her going for a while was her judo. And then Edmund Tarverdyan convinced her that she was a championship level boxer. And then she fought somebody who was a championship level boxer in Holly Holm. She got knocked out. I remember reading an interview. Freddie Roach was like, yo, she should retire now. Everybody has got her number now. And Amanda Nunes definitely had her number because Nunes knocked her out too. And Rousey transitioned away from MMA to professional wrestling.
Yeah, some acting roles too. She's very popular still to this day. She has such a social media presence. There are so many female fighters in the UFC today that thank her, that look up to her, that she was the inspiration for getting them into fighting. So she is such a pioneer. Man, she's put on some great fights. Her versus Miesha Tate.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Both,
that like 14-second armbar against Kat Zingano.
Yeah, when who was it? Canadian woman. She
Alexis
threw her.
Davis.
Yeah, Alexis Davis threw her and then just TKO'd her. It was great.
Yeah, she's had so many great fights.
But does this make her a GOAT? No.
No.
Because look at the metrics, look at them, they say
you gotta take into
otherwise.
consideration everything. She's not the most well-rounded fighter.
Not a strong strength of schedule.
Yeah, exactly.
She didn't fight for that many years.
She didn't. But that's because she wanted to become a wrestler. She wanted to become a mom. She did other things. So, hey, not to take anything away from her, she still gets a B.
Hey, solid.
That's
she
a solid score,
on the same
in my
level
opinion.
as Steopic, which I agree with.
Yeah, 100%.
Legend, yes. GOAT, no.
Yeah.
Next.
Oh, another legend.
Yeah, this is a legend of the game right here.
And
we got Matt Hughes. Yeah.
45-9. Let's just talk about his record, just because his record is crazy.
Yeah.
He fought, let me just make sure that I'm reading that right. Yeah. 54 times in 13 years. That's crazy.
Yeah, this man had a strength of schedule, which I think is strong and needing to be a GOAT. And in his day, he was considered the greatest welterweight to have ever lived. He looked the part. He was jacked. He was a tough, strong-looking wrestler. He would take you down, maul you up, and just get you out of there, right?
Yeah. Early in his career, he would go 20 fights not getting a loss. He lost to like Dennis Hallman or something like that.
Yeah.
Speedo. Anyway, besides those two losses, like it took him a few years to get stopped. He won the championship belt twice.
Yeah, because I think he lost it to BJ Penn, and he won it back. Penn vacated.
Great trilogies, speaking of.
He beat GSP, then lost to GSP. Same thing with BJ Penn. He had a phenomenal trilogy with BJ Penn.
Yeah.
And is he well-rounded enough to be the GOAT? Did he have enough title defenses to be the GOAT? I don't know. It was a different time. And if you look at him today, he's a lightweight. He would be cutting a lightweight. In his time, he was a world beater. Where does he fall on the GOAT list?
Fell
He's
off
all
towards
messed
the end
up.
of his career. Yeah.
You just look at the guy's record and you look at what he did for the sport.
He had present day. He had a traumatic brain injury accident with
Train. He's not doing so good right now.
Yeah. He did a
And
lot.
he gets
What's
a B.
his score?
He gets a solid B. Yeah. Again,
I give him
that
a
makes
B.
sense.
Yeah. Different time, different place, but
There we go.
still a great fighter.
All right, next up.
Oh, that's the wrong tier list.
That's the A tier list. All right, now he's in the B
You can
tier
go next
list.
to Honda Housey. Okay, next.
We have Khabib, the Eagle Nurmagomedov. Phenomenal record. 29-0, retired undefeated. Nobody
Unheard
does
of.
that.
Yeah, nobody does that in MMA.
In the cage, he was a juggernaut. He would just smash you. No one could deal with his grappling. Possibly the most effective grappler in MMA.
He didn't fight that much once he got to the UFC, and he also didn't get a title shot till way later in his UFC run. So, with that being said, once he did get the title, he held on to it till he retired. He did have to retire early due to his father's passing and his mother begging him to stop fighting. So that sucks that we didn't get to see what other potential he had, but he did retire on top, and that is something that really cements in my eyes, in my heart, like that he is the greatest, because you didn't see him fall from
No,
grace.
there was no decline. Now, for me, I wish he could have done his 30 fights because that had been his plan, 30-0, retire undefeated. Except Gleason Tebow beat him. I don't care what the judges say. He did miss weight a couple times, but again, this is the missing weight
moments.
Happens, but Tebow definitely beat him. And his first 15 or so fights were in a promotion run by his father, where he was spoon-fed tomato cans. Their combined record was like 10 and 200 or something. So I took that into account, because otherwise he might have to be my GOAT too. I don't know. Yeah. Joy's GOAT.
Definitely my GOAT.
According to the metric.
See the metric.
What do we got? 89.
He's an 89. He's an A.
Joy rounded up.
Yeah, I round up on everybody.
Well.
So he gets an A.
Khabib next to Valentina.
That makes sense.
They're in good company right there, yeah.
They are in good company. We are moving on to, this is the perfect segue. Khabib retired as the pound-for-pound #1 in the UFC rankings, and once he retired, who took over? Kamaru Usman, and that is who is next on our list.
The Nigerian Nightmare was dominating the 170-pound division.
Yeah, and he was pound-for-pound #1 until his last fight, which was an unfortunate head kick KO by Leon Edwards.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's fully recovered, because every picture I see him from now on social media, like half his head is caved in.
Yeah, I don't know.
So hopefully he gets better from that. Rest up, bro.
Yeah.
Some people say they're just memes, but I think that's a strategy. Yeah, he was looking amazing. He started off just a super strong wrestler.
Yeah, tough winner, just completely dominating in, I would say, most, if not all of his fights.
Yeah, but it was until later that he developed the hands under Trevor Whitman.
He developed them fast. That was like one fight camp with Trevor Whitman. He knocked out
Jorge Masvidal. He knocked him out.
He knocked him out. Yeah, he knocked him out cold.
Yeah.
Woo! The first ever to do that, and I don't care what you say. If you knock out Jorge Masvidal, man, you got some good hands. I'm sorry.
True. I mean, Jorge Masvidal has a victory over the current welterweight champ.
Oh yeah,
Leon Edwards, because he served him with the 3-piece and the soda.
Yeah, so this goes deep. This is why we have this scoring metric, because it's very complicated.
Because of backstage fights. Yeah. 3-piece of soda.
Up until his loss to Leon Edwards, he's obviously going to get a rematch. Yeah. He was champion, and he was messing everyone up, like pretty bad. He beat Gilbert Burns, extremely dominant. He beat Colby Covington. He
twice.
Beat twice. He beat Jorge Masvidal twice. I mean, he's beaten anyone at the top. He doesn't care who it is. He will fight whoever. He's got the rematch. Who knows what's going to happen in the rematch?
I don't know. I'm curious to see where I lowered his score, because I feel like I'm talking about him, I feel like he's pretty high.
I don't know. I gave him an 86, which would round up to an A, and you gave him an 81.
I think well-rounded, because I was taking into account early when he didn't have the hands, and social media, because I don't like him, and I think his social media sucks. That's just me, but this is science, so the 7 is scientific, so it has nothing to do with emotion.
He's also the first Nigerian-born UFC champion. It's great to see that representation in the UFC, being able to bring MMA globally. That is a big thing for the UFC. Usman, pound for pound, he was really looking like he was the best. It's looking like he was becoming the GOAT.
Like he could be a GOAT one day,
like
but he's not.
I was just scratching my head like, who's gonna beat him? But when Leon Edwards finally got his title shot, I'm like, ooh, this might be where he loses.
Head kick from hell. Head kick from hell.
Leon
well
Edwards
set
has
up.
some great head kicks, and I just feel like in the rematch, let's see what happens. He's still writing his history. He's writing his legacy, so maybe we'll have to revisit this GOAT tier list. Maybe we'll have to make a part 2. I don't know. Let us know in the comments.
I have part 2 of the tier list for sure. He got an 83.75, so he gets a B.
He gets a B. Let's put him on the list.
Where's he going with? He's going with Rousey. He's going with Stipe. He's going with Hughes. Seems about right. Yeah, Joy's moving him up. Yeah, he's moving to the front of the list.
According to the score.
All right.
We're scientific here, okay?
Very. Onto a fighter that I really do like.
It's Jose Aldo. He absolutely belongs on this list.
Yeah, the King of Rio.
King of Rio. He was undefeated for like 10 years.
Literally 10 years. I watched him in the WEC. I watched him when he came over to the UFC. From that destruction of Cub Swanson with the 8-second double flying knee, he basically ended Mike Brown's career. He demolished Uriah Faber. Then he comes to the UFC. He's beaten everybody. His schedule slowed over the years. He became a little less dynamic in his style, but he held on to that title. And there's not a fighter alive who has a bad thing to say about him.
Yeah, not even Conor McGregor at this point. And they had some beef.
Leading to what is in my mind the greatest fight to ever take place in UFC history. 13 seconds, but it was a perfect fight.
It was, and
I hate Conor McGregor.
We will get to that. because spoiler alert, Conor McGregor's on this
he's
list.
on the list.
But we'll get to that. Man, that was his first loss in the UFC.
Yeah.
Which was crazy. And then after that, he came back. He beat Frankie Edgar at UFC 200. Man, you thought he was back for good, but then he kind of had like win-losses
and this leads to his placement on the list. He fell off a little towards the end. Maybe he stayed in the game too long. He's not that old. He is just retired. I wish he could have gone down to 135 when he was in his prime.
Yeah, he's not that old, but he started fighting at 17.
The
and he
mileage.
was very active very early in his career, and then he started slowing down once he got to the UFC.
Yeah, and
so,
the narrative had been, like, he could never make 135 or he'll die. That was literally the narrative.
Yeah, and then he goes into his 30s and he's
like, yeah, I can make
135.
Fine, this is great. It's weird, but regardless, still most consider him the best featherweight of all time, and he has a score of 87.5 on our metric, which I think is pretty representative. Yeah.
And
he
deserves an A, in my opinion. He deserves to be up there with those three. Those two.
I think there's going to be people who are going to argue against that, and I will fight you. All right.
Moving on to Jon Jones. Jon Jones.
Who?
He's 26-1 with one no contest, which, oh man, we're gonna get into that. But
the no contest is earned. The loss was a disqualification loss against Matt Hamill. He was throwing 12 to 6 elbows. They were trying to get that expunged from his record.
Yeah, it was questionable.
It's a nonsense loss.
I mean, basically, he's undefeated. He's won most of his fights very impressively.
Mm-hmm.
He had a couple of fights that were close. One fight against Dominick Reyes that was really close.
Yeah, people thought he lost.
Yeah, in the rematch with Gustafsson, who was the only other fighter to get really close to winning.
He dominated.
He dominated
Shut
him.
us down.
Yeah. He's not the most active a fighter because, man, if you look at his Wikipedia page, he's got a controversies section that's extensive.
Yeah.
It has 4 parts to it. Do you know he's popped 4 times for 4 different pay-per-views?
Yeah, he's tanked car crashes. He's not a good person, but
he's his own worst enemy.
But he might be the best fighter ever to have stepped in the octagon. I don't know.
Yeah, he was the light heavyweight champion. He had 11 title defenses, but he didn't do it consecutively because he's a mess up.
Yeah, because he lost to himself because they cut him or he couldn't fight for 2 years.
I mean, it's just crazy the potential that he has with his skill set. His skill set is just so remarkable.
That's what's crazy is with his record accomplishments, I don't think he's lived up to his potential. I think he could have been far greater. He uses his frame phenomenally, fight IQ off the charts, and now he's moving to heavyweight. And
He's seen him since.
He's been moving to heavyweight for like 4 years.
Yeah.
But it might happen in 2023. And if he could get a few wins under his belt at heavyweight, maybe capture the title.
Uninterrupted wins.
This list might be foregone. It just might have to be Jon Jones.
Yeah.
But we won't know until we know.
Yeah, he's still writing his history like other fighters on this list. He had 11 title defenses at light heavyweight. That is tied with DJ, who we'll get to, for the most title defenses in UFC history. However, he didn't do it consecutively because of all his controversies, but, getting stripped of the title, that's not really a good look. That's why he had to be taken down a peg. That's why he's not the GOAT of GOATs, and that's why he gets an A.
Moving on from the light heavyweight great Jon Jones, we're going to the strawweight queen, Joanna Jedrzejczyk. This woman put the strawweight division really on the map. She was the first fighter in the division to have that star aura about her. She came out and she just willed herself into being a force in the division.
The UFC strawweight champion.
That was a very, very good stoppage by Mark Goddard.
Yeah, once she got that title, she defended it 5 times. Yeah, definitely a very hard thing to do, and she did it.
And she did it in an exciting fashion. Her style was Muay Thai based attack. She developed really good takedown defense because everybody was going to want to take her down. And the first few women she defended her title against, man, she lit them up. She ruined their faces after the fight. She was scary. So she definitely had that championship aura about her.
She held on to that belt, and the first woman to take it away from her was Miss Rose Namajunas, and which is why we put Rose on this list, because taking her down at that time that was huge, and it was just so shocking how she did it in the fashion she did it in. The fact that she beat her twice, it was just crazy. Joanna kind of fell off after that. She did beat Tisha Torres at some point, but man, she had that crazy fight with Weili Zhang.
That was rough.
That was a split decision. That was one of the greatest fights I've ever seen.
It was. I haven't watched it again.
Hard to
it was
watch.
Hard with that gigantic hematoma on her forehead. She looked like an alien.
But man, she almost won that fight. She lost in that rematch. That was her return, and that was her last fight.
Yeah,
which, it was time. I think it was just time for her.
Yeah, and she saw her exit. She took it. Goodwill to the fans, all that. And she's on this list. So, she did something right in her career.
Yeah.
Now, where did she fall on this list? What did we give you on?
Oh, she gets a B.
She gets a solid B. Which is about right.
Yeah,
which is about
she
right.
didn't fight for very long. She was a Muay Thai fighter, a kickboxer.
Pretty much exclusively. I mean, her grappling was only defensive.
Yeah, she had so many fights kickboxing and Muay Thai.
A ton.
That once she got to MMA, she had a couple injuries, couldn't get her fighting as much as she wanted to. So with that's why we kind of gave her the B ranking.
But it's not a bad place to be in. So we're going to put her right next to...
list.
Where should go next to? Bam. I did that. Put it right there. She's right after Matt Hughes right there. Good spot. Another slighter weight fighter. We've got Triple C, the king of cringe, Henry Cejudo.
Henry Cejudo. How does he end up on this list? Well, he made it to champ status. Coming from the wrestling world, Olympic gold medalist in wrestling, comes off of that hype right into the UFC pretty much. Comes in, guns a-blazing.
He had some fights early in his career where he missed weight. That was an issue for him coming into the UFC. Eventually he got that sorted out, which is kind of surprising that a wrestler would have trouble making weight, but look, he figured it out, and he winds up beating Demetrious Johnson to be the flyweight champ, which is, it's just crazy.
Unheard of at the time.
I
No one was
never would have
beating
guessed
DJ.
it.
Yeah, no one was beating DJ. We didn't think that Cejudo would be able to beat DJ because this was a rematch. DJ caught him with an excellent placed liver shot.
Yeah.
Sending him right down.
Yeah, DJ said when he hit him, he said it wasn't the biggest shot, it didn't look like the biggest, but he said he heard Cejudo go, ugh, and he was like, I knew I had him, and he just finished strong.
Yeah, but Cejudo beat him in the rematch.
Yeah.
And then what did Cejudo do? He won the flyweight title off of DJ, arguably, as we talked about, one of the GOATs, won it off of DJ. Then what does he do? He goes up in weight to 135 after he beat TJ, who came down to flyweight. So he defended the flyweight title once, goes up in weight, vacated title, beats Marias for the vacant bantamweight title, becomes the champ, and defends against who? Dominick Cruz.
Oh, that's right.
He knocked him out.
Well,
TKO.
Keith Peterson knocked Dominick Cruz out with the scent of cigarettes and alcohol.
Yeah.
But that's another story. I don't agree with that stoppage.
Yeah, but still, he won the title. He won both titles. He defended them. He is solidified champ status.
I don't like his King of Cringe gimmick because it's cringy. I don't like it.
Can't take away his talents, though, and what he's done.
No, that's the thing. Based off personality, I wouldn't even put him near this list. But look, you cannot deny. Olympic gold medal, champ. He's on the list.
Didn't really have a lot of fights. He ended up retiring with his last fight against Dominick Cruz.
Yeah, I believe so.
Here he's coming back, so his history is still going to be written.
He's in the USADA testing pool again. He's calling for a fight with Volkanovski, I think.
Hey, champ.
There's no reason to make that fight, but I'd still love to see him get a shot at that.
I would love to see that too. Who knows what could happen in that fight? I mean, he's kind of small for 145,
Kind of.
but
I mean,
I don't know. I thought he was too small for 135, and look what he did to Dominick Cruz of all people.
And Marlon Moraes, who this is before Moraes
too.
fell off. You know, like. As for this list, we put him...
It's a solid B.
Solid B.
Put that champ as a great fighter, but no GOAT.
That sounds about right now.
Yeah, we're moving on.
Oof. And now,
This
we
one's
got
big.
one of the heavy hitters
This one's big.
of the Fight Fuel MMA comprehensive MMA GOAT tier list. You got George Rush St-Pierre.
GSP.
GSP. if you're making an MMA Mount Rushmore and you're talking GOATs, GSP is on there.
Always, especially if you're from Canada. He's 26-2, so not too many fights. He retired fairly early in his career before he would have an opportunity to fall off. He beat
everyone.
He
beat everybody.
He lost to two guys named Matt. I mean, Matt Hughes he lost to, but that was very early in his career. We talked about it in the Matt Hughes section.
I'm not impressed by your performance.
He avenged that loss not once but twice, and he also got knocked out by Matt Serra.
Matt, the Terra Serra, Strong Island
And
represent.
He avenged that loss eventually, so he is a two-time welterweight champion. He also took a few years off.
It was a very weird thing. He
Yeah.
finished, I think it was the Johnny Hendricks fight, was it?
Yeah, that's when he retired.
And he's all messed up and he's like, yo, I have to step aside. He didn't say retire, but he said he needed to make a point in his life. There was some weird thing he was concerned about. I never found out what it is.
Me neither. He just kind of disappeared for a few years, took some acting roles, and then came back as a middleweight.
Uber GSP.
Uber
He was
GSP.
bulked up.
Middleweight title fight against Michael Bisping. This was after taking years off. Ring rust does not exist
Not for GSP. I wrote him off. I was like, Bisping's too big. He fought at 205. GSP shouldn't be coming up to 185.
He choked him
Time
out.
off, choked him out.
Unreal.
Demonstrating one of his best attributes is just that well-roundedness. He is willing to employ
Very.
any technique, put himself through the mill training. Anything he sees that he could incorporate into his game plan, he is going to train hard, and develop a facility with it that he's never out of a fight.
He's got to be one of the most well-rounded fighters.
GSP and DJ are like neck and neck in terms of that.
It's just crazy at how good they are at winning.
Yes, GSP, I usually think of him as an athlete first fighter. He thinks of himself as a martial artist first, but just the dedication to the fighter lifestyle
Oh yeah.
has paid dividends for him because he's on our list. And he is at
He's
a
an
very high
A.
87. I don't know if 87 is an A, you're rounding up, but it should be... all right, he gets an A.
He's an A.
GSP, well, he definitely should be next to Jones
Yeah.
and Shevchenko. He gets an A. GSP, welcome to the Fight Fuel MMA tier list. You're on there.
Yeah. GOAT of his time or place. I would say that.
Yeah, for sure. Possible GOAT of GOATs, but apparently not.
Yeah.
Next
not on
up,
our list.
this
We got
is sad for me.
Fedor Emelianenko.
Fedor Emelianenko.
Heavyweight legend.
this is my GOAT.
Russia's pride.
This is my GOAT right
Putin's
here.
buddy.
He taught me that physique doesn't mean anything in MMA. This is a man who was walking around fat. Could have fought at middleweight, fighting these steroid up monster heavyweights
Since
in pride.
2000.
Just
Still fighting.
mangling them.
22 years.
Surviving the suplex from Randleman that would have killed any other opponent. Fedor just shrugs it off. Destroying Nogueira. There's so many.
yeah.
Mirko Krokop. There's so many great fights. And at the time, Pride was considered, their heavyweight division was considered either better or on par with the UFC's. Fedor
believe it.
ruled it for 10 years with an iron fist.
He hardly ever loses, even though he is still fighting.
I don't want him to fight again.
Arguably, he's fighting past his prime, but he's still winning. It's crazy.
He was past his prime when he fought Fabio Maldonado in Russia, and they were giving him the smelling salts after fight should have been
was bad.
stopped in round one. It was
Yeah.
terrible. But
mean,
it's up to him. He can
yeah.
fight if he wants.
He's a well-rounded fighter.
Incredibly. The only thing I would say is I never
Submissions.
really saw too much off his back, but he never really
Yeah.
went there.
Submissions from the top, amazing. Knockouts, there. Like,
Wrestling, jiu-jitsu, sambo, striking,
dangerous anywhere, really.
everywhere. Cardio, strength, even though he was undersized.
He's a remarkable athlete.
Yes. Now, I would just put him at number one, but we can't. I tried to be as honest on my
Yeah.
metrics as I could. He
He
came
never
out.
fought in the UFC. There were a couple fighters that dream matchups that never quite worked out because he wasn't in the UFC, but he's in Bellator now, which is crazy. He's still fighting. Over 22-year career. I mean, we gave him an A.
I wish I could
He
have
belongs-
rated him higher.
You know, I believe he belongs there. And I feel like,
He
we
belongs
should go
in
there
the
with-
S tier. And I can't believe
I
we're not putting him
know,
there. It's
but
gonna
he's
be
not in
alright.
the S
Okay,
tier.
fine.
We're gonna get
Science. Science.
Stay tuned to the end. Next up, we have Dominick Cruz.
The Dominator.
24-4. The amount of breaks he had to take due to injuries. He had to take a number of years off. I actually have them listed because it was so many. He took off from 2011 to 2014, took off from 2014 to 2016, and then he took off from 2016 to 2020. And those are so many breaks. He had so many injuries, just plagued.
His legs were ruined. Just no man has been injured more than Dominick Cruz. Maybe Kane Velasquez. I don't know.
But, you know, we had to take that into consideration. However, when he fought, he literally dominated the competition. He had one loss from Uriah Faber back in the WEC days. And he eventually, years later, avenged that loss. And then he was dominant. He was beating everybody. He held that belt for so long.
Yeah, people will consider him the bantamweight GOAT. Some people will.
Yeah, until it just, like, the pack caught up with him. Cody Garbrandt.
I couldn't believe Cody won that fight.
Caught him a few times, dropped him. This was unheard of. He was the most evasive
The most elusive.
man.
Footwork. His footwork was...
Unreal footwork. Footwork unorthodox, they say, or
that
just...
herky-jerky style. And I don't think he would have had to develop that style if he had any power in his punches, but he doesn't. So he had to figure out a way to not get hit too much and to continuously stay ahead in the punch count so he could secure wins.
Fighter.
Really smart.
And a very underrated grappling game. I feel like his grappling and wrestling is very underrated. I think it's a lot better than people like tout him for. Like everyone talks about his striking because his striking is so unique and evasive. But honestly, when he was on the ground, he went to work. So
and either mental fortitude or insanity just to keep pushing after all the injuries, but whatever it is, he's got it.
Yeah, he's
fallen off a little in recent years, but hey, I mean, he's getting older, and we said he was injured all the time.
One little note, he is the only GOAT on this list to transition into commentary, and he does it very well.
Pretty well.
Yeah, I think he's a great commentator. He has a lot of insight, so, you know, that's, hey, something to take into consideration. Still fighting, which is crazy. I thought he retired, but I guess I got that wrong.
Still fighting.
Yeah, so that puts him at a B.
Yeah,
and I believe that.
Yeah,
he's a B.
We're not doing pluses, maybe a B plus, but I'm fine with B because he's not next to Fedor.
Well, he's only an 81%,
he's not next to Khabib.
Totally a B.
Yeah.
You put him at the end.
Damn, rough on Dominick Cruz, whatever. He got a B.
No, I mean he kind of fell off and he didn't really fight that much and injured. So you got to take everything into consideration.
We took everything into consideration.
Based in science.
Science.
Less emotion, okay?
Science doesn't care about our feelings.
Yeah.
Next, I feel like the science is going to support this guy too, and my emotions.
100%.
We got Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson.
One of the greatest to ever do it. Pound for pound, one of the best. The only problem is he's like 5'4". And that's where the UFC had a problem with him.
The knock on him early was, oh, he's so fast, he's so fast. They were trying to sell the flyweight men in the beginning as, they're so fast, it's exciting. But there weren't that many finishes. Eventually, DJ started stringing together finishes, spectacular finishes.
His subs.
Dude,
he's got TKOs. More subs than
the mousetrap.
But
he
still.
hit the mousetrap on Ray Borg.
Crazy.
It's this ridiculous sub where you suplex somebody, snatch their arm, and then fall back into an armbar.
Yeah.
And he hit it.
Unreal.
And said in the interviews, like, oh yeah, I train that all the time in the gym.
Train that.
But just
crazy.
matter of fact, this man operates with such a high fight IQ, and he doesn't let himself get heated. He doesn't let himself get worried. He's got his game plan. He's on his game plan. He's going. He's not discouraged. He's not overexcited. He is dedicated and well-rounded.
Well-rounded. He's dangerous anywhere.
Everywhere.
He's dangerous on his back. He's dangerous from the top. He's dangerous on his feet against the cage. If you really put everyone's skill set next to each other, and him and Jon Jones. Yeah.
I mean, there's not a place he's not dangerous from. Cardio, insane.
Cardio for days. 5-round fights. He did 11 title defenses consecutively.
Yeah.
So there's a knock on Jones. This is where DJ, I think, pulls through in the clutch.
On that front, he does, yeah.
He doesn't get arrested or popped for steroids, so...
And then, he gets traded in the dumbest thing the UFC's ever done to ONE FC. The UFC got Askren, one got DJ, and they're promoting him pretty well there.
Yeah.
And he's the champ. Not surprising to anybody. He took an L, but then the dude who beat him, I forget his name, DJ put on such a
clinic.
clinical fight in their rematch and knocked him out.
Oh yeah,
with one of the
beautifully.
sickest finishing combos I've ever seen.
And man, talk about a comeback. Before his split decision loss, razor thin, close split decision loss to Henry Cejudo, and that loss in 1FC, he only lost at bantamweight. And think about it, 1FC's flyweight division is 135.
Is
so
bantamweight.
really the only person to beat him at flyweight at 125, which
Henry
is his
Cejudo.
natural weight class.
And not for
Cejudo.
nothing, the guy that DJ was fighting was not a flyweight. I know they say they can't rehydrate. That guy was huge, very large for flyweight.
DJ didn't have the respect of the UFC, but he's got the gaming community behind him. He's got a huge following on Twitch.
Yeah.
He's very relevant in like the gamer
Yeah.
world, and he has a presence. It may not be like as big as Conor McGregor's, but he's so much of a better fighter
Yeah,
he gets an A.
Firmly ensconced.
Firmly.
Firm A for DJ.
Yeah,
Very happy to put him
almost
in the A
the
tier.
best. He goes at the top.
Yeah, right in the front.
He does.
Now
He's
we
in
got to
the
move on.
ranks,
Speaking
so.
of Conor McGregor,
Speaking of Conor McGregor,
we've got Conor McGregor. Speaking of the
of
intro
course
where I was
Conor
talking
McGregor
about
goes in this list.
not winning a fight in 5 years, we got Conor McGregor.
And by the time I win the lightweight belt, it would still only be a couple months while the featherweight belt is not active. So I am an active champion, so I will keep my belt and I will go up and add more belts. That's what we must do here. There's no vacating. That's not happening.
Speaking of never defending any belt you've ever won, we got Conor McGregor.
First ever champ.
Yeah, that
The
too.
UFC kind of carved it out for him. They kind of gave him the path and gave him the opponents in order to do so.
While he held up the featherweight division for like a year and a half.
All of his wins were spectacular. They were exciting. He definitely put a clinic on the featherweight division. And man, it all crescendoed with that 13-second knockout of Jose Aldo, which is still just unreal in my eyes. Like, wow, like he really did accomplish a lot back in the day.
That was a perfect fight. As much as I
Perfect
dislike Conor
performance for him.
McGregor,
Yeah.
that fight was the closest I could see that I have seen that a UFC fight is like. Two samurais meeting for a duel, one strike, finish.
Well, Masvidal Askren.
Yeah,
but then he had his extra
but,
shots.
I mean, super necessary
Super
extra
necessary.
shots.
Anyway.
But it was perfect. And as
It was
much as I
perfect,
don't like McGregor, his financial success sets a precedent for other fighters to have financial success. I hate the guy.
Yeah,
but I can't
he's pretty
deny,
unlikable.
to me, a lot of people
To
love
me,
him.
yeah, some people love him. We're just not huge fans because
Because he
just
sucks.
seems like a total asshole.
Yeah, because he is. But
he
you
did
gotta
do
take
a
into
lot.
account the exciting finishes,
He's a
great
household
fights,
name.
promotion. He's a great promoter of himself.
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
He's got a whiskey.
A
He's
terrible
doing
whiskey.
Well. The whiskey looks
Hurt as shit.
awful.
I don't know.
Jameson for life.
But he's still on the list. We got to give him the
Yeah, he's on the
scientific
list,
evaluation.
yes.
And what do you get?
He got a B.
A B.
He's a B fighter.
Yes, he
He
is.
was a very good fighter when he was hungry. When he was hungry for those belts, and the UFC fed him.
They
Trust
fed
me,
him.
they fed him amply.
Spoon-fed him.
They spoon-fed him. His Dana White's baby boy.
He got a title shot by beating Dennis Seaver.
Yeah.
I like Dennis
Hey,
Seaver.
whatever.
but yeah.
He took that title shot and he ran with it to glory. Okay.
Financial glory.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he piggybacked all of that to get a title shot against Eddie Alvarez, who he
And he won.
completely dismantled.
And Eddie Alvarez is a good fighter.
And Eddie
So-
Alvarez was Bellator champion and a UFC champion. So
again,
that's pretty good.
can't take that away from
You
him.
can't take that away from him, but he kind of fell off. He got choked out by Nate Diaz. He barely won the rematch. He lost to Dustin Poirier twice out of 3.
Because since the Alvarez
So
fight,
I mean, he had great trilogies. And Habib rocked him and also wilted him. He choked him out, right?
Yeah, over the jaw.
Yeah.
McGregor tapped fast, like he always taps fast. Not to take anything away from him, but, he hasn't wanted to fight in 5 years. He is no longer a fighter. He is a promoter who realizes his brand is centered around being a fighter, so he's got to pretend he's still a fighter to keep making money that he's spending like water, which maybe one day he'll run out of. But who knows? Not to take anything away from him.
I mean, he did get a boxing match with Floyd Mayweather. That
He's
was
going to get another one,
huge
too.
back then.
He's going to get another one, too. They're talking
Floyd
about it.
Mayweather again?
They're talking about it.
Oh, gosh. No one wants to see that. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't want to see the rematch. He's done a lot. He's a mainstream star, household name.
He's going to ruin Roadhouse. He's going to ruin Roadhouse. He's going to be in Roadhouse. I don't think that Dustin's wife was in his DMs. He's lying.
Oh, I remember that.
He was sitting there talking shit with a broken leg. Like, so, you're tough. I'll give you that. I don't like him. He gets a B.
Yeah. We'll put him by Usman.
Yeah, put him by Usman.
Yeah, sure. All right, next we got
Cris Cyborg, who I feel like got a really bad rap because, yes, she did pop for steroids. But you know what? 90% of the people on this list are probably on steroids right now and have done, I don't know for a fact, I'm just speculating here.
Yeah, but honestly, her record is 26-2 in one contest. Her first fight, she lost out the gate. She got knee barred.
What? Then, you can't knee bar?
You can't knee bar. But then she was undefeated until Amanda Nunes knocked her out, which is crazy. Cyborg is a myth. She's a legend. She's a living legend. She was dominant in Strikeforce. She was the only featherweight champion in Strikeforce. And then the UFC literally created a freaking division for her. The Cyborg division.
After making her jump through hoops to try to get to 35 because they wanted to fight Rousey, which was just like cruel and unusual.
Yeah.
She's big.
But they literally built an entire featherweight division around Cyborg, and then Amanda Nunes went up in weight and knocked her out, which was crazy. But you know what? Even though that happened, even though she did lose there, she picked herself up, went to Bellator, and is making money hand over fist and knocking people out and beating them up.
And fighting where she is respected, which I don't feel like she was in the UFC. I like Cyborg. I think she is a very good fighter whose physicality might have carried her a bit, but she's a tough, solid fighter with a good strength of schedule. Yeah. And what did we give her?
She gets a B.
She gets a B. 84.25. Yeah.
Also, I just want to mention this because this is quite remarkable. She has 4 world titles under her belt. Strikeforce, Invicta, UFC, and Bellator. That's 4 organizations that she was dominant in. That's huge.
Now, she gets a B, again, I gotta say this, on this list because this is the GOAT list. We're not comparing her to all fighters, we're just comparing her to potential GOATs. So you have to bear that in mind when you're looking at this list. These are all great fighters. Another great fighter who's going to be on this list, we have Kane Velasquez.
Kane Velasquez. Man, he's got a tough rap because his fights are only 14-3, right? He hasn't fought that much. But what he did with the time that he had was remarkable. 3rd fight, he's in the UFC. Yeah. Wins the title, defends it 2 times, more than anybody for years until Stipe finally got one extra fight.
The 3rd, which is like an infinite amount more, but
Kane was this new breed of heavyweight when he came out. He was cardio, he was wrestling, and he was striking all in one.
Yeah, and he developed his striking better and better as his tenure in the UFC went on. The UFC for a while, they were trying to like build these giant heavyweights, like they were getting ex-football players and they were getting Brock Lesnar and this.
Yeah, hey, he dismantled Brock Lesnar.
But that's the thing, you take a guy, Kane's not a giant guy, Kane's not huge and ripped, jacked. But Kane put in a ton of work and was just a really good wrestler, really good striker with endless cardio. At heavyweight, that's what it takes.
He was just this new breed of heavyweight. He was unstoppable, but the one thing that stopped him was his injuries. That's what stopped his career, basically.
Almost as bad as Cruz, not quite, but he was always hurting himself training, and there was talk that his training methods were way too extreme. Who knows what Kane would have done if he could have stayed healthy his entire UFC tenure.
Yeah, very unfortunate. But so many people regard him as one of the greatest heavyweights to ever do it.
And it sucks where he is now in his life.
Yeah. I mean, he went through, we're not going to get into it here, but just Google
you could
his
find
name,
out, just Google Kane Velasquez, you're going to see what's up.
Unfortunate. But with that being said, because of the shortness of his career, we gave him a C.
Yeah, which is, I think, about
That's
where he
solid.
should compare him to the rest of the people on the list. Kane didn't have that 10-fight win streak. He wasn't doing jiu-jitsu when he was taken down. Social media,
he's got like 1 million followers.
He's
up there, but
he's on the list.
C sounds about right.
Fell off circumstantially, I guess.
Yeah. On to the next one. Oh boy.
So this is polarizing.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you think BJ Penn's great, right?
Well, we kind of gave him around the same score.
I don't think BJ Penn's that great.
It was a different time back then, and also he was fighting, he's like featherweight, and he was fighting lightweight, welterweight, lightweight champion, welterweight champion. He fought someone at heavyweight.
But
He's
she did
crazy. And that's why his record's 16-14 with 2 draws. That's a terrible record.
Just
it's the
right
worst
there.
one we've had so far.
You can't be on the list right there.
Yeah,
That's enough.
But
he,
people like Anderson Silva say he's the greatest pound for pound fighter of all time.
yeah, and Matt Hughes had said that BJ Penn was just such a better fighter than him. So I'm not going to contradict these guys. They think it. I just think in terms of when you talk about the GOAT, this is a guy who was inconsistent, had moments of greatness and then fell off. And I think a lot of it was based on just a lack of proper training or wanting to train and then hanging around too long. I mean, way too long.
Yeah, he kind of, that's another thing that kind of dips his score down. It was he fought past his prime. He tried featherweight well past he should have been fighting.
Yeah, and look what they gave him Yair Rodriguez
that
to
was
fight.
so
Like,
terrible.
why? Then they tried to give him a matchup maybe better. They gave him Ryan Hall. He gets heel hooked. It's just
It was unfortunate to see what happened, but man, what he did at his size in the lightweight and the welterweight division, winning the welterweight title, even just winning it the one time that he did, that's crazy for his size. Also, he defended the lightweight title 3 times.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
that was his best run. That's
Yeah.
why I'm. Maybe
the
it's just me.
prodigy.
I feel like people have this other viewpoint,
Well, he
but
gets
I
a
just
C.
I know. Yeah, he gets
Actually,
a C.
he gets a B.
He gets a. We got to
He
round him
gets
up.
a B,
I think he should get
yeah.
a C.
Well, according to the scores.
All right, fine. Man, there's a lot of
gets
B's
a
on this
B.
list. How come nobody is in like D list?
We
Man,
got 2 B on the D list.
I think that honestly, you know how when you have like swimming in the Olympics and the margin for victory is like 0.07 seconds
Yes.
because everybody is at such a high level.
That's kind of where we're at
This
right now.
is next list. We have to come up with a 100-part metric.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna take
100
forever.
categories.
That's a lot of math. Okay, moving on. We've talked about her a few times.
And
Miss
now here she is.
GOAT herself. Everyone just calls her the GOAT, so why not put her on this list and test her out? Amanda Nunes.
Yes.
She's 22-5. She didn't start off as a world beater. She kind of had a start-stop, knocked for her cardio, wilted later on in fights. Then she turned it up and didn't stop. She beat everybody. She beat Ronda Rousey, Miocic Tate, Holly Holm, Cris Cyborg, and Valentina Shevchenko twice. Man, she's got a list of people that she has beaten, and she won the bantamweight title, held on to it up until recently, lost it to Penn, got it back, beat Penn in the rematch. And she's had that featherweight title since she beat Cris Cyborg, a few years back now.
And she has defended it. There's not as much competition at
There
featherweight.
isn't
but
even a ranking at featherweight, which is sad, but
yeah, but she's defending 2 titles, and she's losing one and getting it back. And like Georgia said, she beat all the luminaries of the bantamweight and featherweight division. She cleared them out. Nunes is the real deal, and I think she saw some of the flaws in her game and decided it was time to step up her training. And she
worked
is
on her
a
cardio.
complete fighter.
Yeah. Only thing is, her social media presence isn't as big as like a GOAT.
Yeah.
should
But I
be.
think that
But I mean, she still has a decent
some
social
of that
media
is
presence.
because the UFC was just overlooking her until they couldn't anymore.
Until they had to just be like, she is the GOAT.
Yeah, and also
I feel like Dana was ignoring her.
yeah, he didn't
kind
like
of.
her. He probably still doesn't really like her.
Okay, anyway, she gets a B. Solid B.
She's a solid B.
Solid B. I mean,
Solid B.
in my opinion, I don't know how this happened, but I thought her score was going to be higher. I thought she'd be an A tier. But
What is probably I gave
gotta
her
put her in front of Cyborg.
probably level of competition. Yeah, all right, there you go.
Yeah, you know why? Because winning the featherweight title is impressive by beating Cyborg, but it's like there's really no one else in the featherweight division.
Mm-hmm.
So, 6 of
Yo,
one,
if
half a
enough
dozen
people
of the
flame
other,
us in the
whatever.
comments, we'll do a video where we just defend our metric. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, right? Well, on to the next one.
This guy,
Anderson Silva. No one can take away the fact that he is in contention for the GOAT of GOAT status.
yeah, I mean,
Because he is one of the greatest to have ever done it.
when Anderson Silva was in his prime, fighting in the middleweight division as the champ, he was untouchable.
He was 33-4 at his peak.
He was just
before the Chris Weidman fight.
Yeah, he was just levels removed from everybody to the point where they paired him up with 2 Brazilians in a row, and he didn't want to fight other Brazilians. and he just coasted the last 3, 4, 5 rounds because he didn't want to hurt him, because he could. It was ridiculous how skilled he was.
Yeah, and he had everything. You saw it in the Chael Sonnen fight, hitting a sub off of his back, even when it seemed like he was going to lose that fight.
That was so surprising.
It was great. I mean, that's why he's the Spider. Like, he can just do it all.
Now,
that kick to Vitor Belfort.
He front kicked him in the face.
He, like, destroyed Rich Franklin.
And back
Forrest
to back.
Griffin. And
rearranged Rich Franklin's face.
16 fights in the UFC, undefeated.
Knocked Forrest Griffin out with a jab, moving backwards.
10 title defenses.
Yeah.
Jon Jones and DJ are the only people to get one up on him.
And if you could give more than 10 points for, like, exciting MMA moments, which is one of the categories, he would be at 20.
Oh,
He was just a highlight reel.
It's normal, he would say.
It is normal.
It's normal. It's normal. Come on, guys. It's normal.
But he stuck around too long.
Yeah. After that Chris Weidman loss, it was downhill from there. The two Weidman losses. I mean, the first one losses.
where he got exactly what he deserved. He was clowning and he got knocked out.
Yeah, the second one with the leg kick, which was so gruesome. And then the fact that Chris Weidman happened to him. That's another story.
Yeah.
It's so freaky that Chris Weidman had the same injury recently.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Maybe a few years ago now. But anyway, Silva is one of the best to do it. One of the most talented strikers. A lot of people say the best middleweight of all time.
Yeah, I mean you could say that. Again, if he had retired right before he fought Chris Weidman, he might be the GOAT.
Best,
we don't know. Like Khabib style. But a string of losses, lackluster fights. That Derek Brunson fight, I was there for that fight. I think he lost that very strange fight with Nick Diaz. Really weird fight with Bisping. It lowered his score on the metric.
Yeah, but he still gets
he's still an A.
He's still
even with all that. And he's still fighting now. He's gonna box Logan Paul.
And I can't wait.
He might knock him out.
Logan Paul or Jake Paul?
I can't tell them apart.
I don't know.
Jake Paul, the more annoying.
I think
who sucks more?
Silva has a higher score than both DJ.
Yeah, put him right up there.
Anyway, we're moving on. Okay, this is it, guys. We're down to the final 2. We have the lowest ranked GOAT and the highest ranked GOAT of our list. Get ready, drum roll. We got Artem Lobov.
The Russian hammer. He was coming out with the Russian flag and the Irish flag, ready to sling those punches with those ludicrously short arms, punching his ticket all the way to the UFC.
With a great record of 13-15, 1 draw and 1 no contest.
Everything perfectly balanced as all things should be.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many memes about him being the GOAT.
That we had to put him on the list.
We had to put him on the list. He's on the list.
He's the self-proclaimed GOAT, and he's the GOAT in all the memes, so he made the list. But how did he do? He got a 22.5.
Okay, look.
Mostly my fault. I'm just like 0.
He should not be on this list among these other fighters. But in all fairness to Artem Lobov, he managed to give himself a pretty successful MMA career without being a great fighter.
McGregor, right? Some shit? I don't know.
So, Lobov did all right for himself.
Yeah. You are at the bottom of the list.
You're on the list.
You're on the list. You made the list, buddy.
You made the list, bro.
Now, this is it. You've made it to the end. I hope you like and subscribe because that would be lovely. If you watched us for this long, might as well subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe to our channel.
But we have the final, the one, the only, the GOAT that we were not expecting to top the list. We have, drumroll please,
Israel Adesanya.
Izzy.
According to our
GOAT
metric,
of GOATs.
Yeah, according to our metric, Israel Adesanya is the GOAT.
I never would have thought that. I thought
gotta put him up there. I gotta put him up there right now.
I got it.
Yeah, all right, put him up there right now because
he is the GOAT of GOATs.
Because I don't think he's the GOAT, and
I
you
don't
didn't think he was going to be the GOAT.
I didn't think he was. He lost recent. Well, not that recent, but he lost to Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah.
And granted, not his weight class. Other than that, he's undefeated.
Yeah.
So that's pretty remarkable.
And he seemed to me like, he's one of the most exciting, talented strikers in the UFC right now.
We were just talking about Anderson Silva, so it's like, ooh,
and
he's better than Anderson Silva? Is he?
He's not, though. I'm like,
my
his ground's
mind.
not good, ground game's not good, great striker, hasn't fought as much as some of these other guys.
That's another thing. He's still writing his legacy right now. He's still writing the history.
Yeah.
He's still defending that title.
He
over
tried
and
for the
over
double
again.
champ stat, he didn't
tried.
get it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking
I don't
maybe
think he
he's going to
tried
be
that hard.
middle of the pack. I don't know. But no. According to our metric, and this is why you got to know that we actually tried to do this as exactly as impartially as we could.
Yeah.
We couldn't give him anything but GOAT status.
Yeah, it's so crazy to me. He's not the most well-rounded fighter, but man, his striking is just so very precise.
Much like Anderson Silva.
Much like
in his
Anderson
prime.
Silva, but it's like, is he better than Anderson
He's
Silva?
not. He's not better than Fedor.
I mean, it's only like
He's
a
not
point,
better than GSP. He's not better than Khabib.
1.12.
It doesn't matter. He's up there at the top because science.
Science. This was scientific. I mean, he really does have it all. He's a showman. He has like great dance moves.
Yeah, I think he is.
He's got social media presence, and he's more of a household name than you would think. He's really into anime. I feel like the nerd community,
Which I like,
and
so.
I know, me too. But yeah, he's got a huge following. So many people, when you ask them, and just like maybe a casual MMA fan, like, oh, who's your favorite fighter? They usually say Izzy.
Yeah.
They usually say, oh, Izzy's the best. Everyone just like really likes him. And I mean, I love his trash talk. I love the trash talk between him and Vittori, between him and Costa. He's pretty funny. He's got some really great quick comebacks. And
Yeah, I like him. There's some things about him I don't like.
yeah,
Somebody,
yeah, he's
I like
not my
watching him
favorite
fight.
fighter, but-
I thought Cannonier was going to bring it to him more than he did in their last fight.
Yeah,
I was
that
looking
was
for an all-out
crazy.
war there. But he's up for his possibly his toughest test yet. He's going to fight Bahia.
Yeah, they literally had to find this man
Yeah, he...
and bring him in to contest Izzy, because
Pretty
Izzy
much.
pretty much cleared out the middleweight division, which was a similar problem to Anderson Silva. Like,
Yeah.
he just fought everybody. And
And
was
Anderson
just
Silva
like,
was fighting at
okay.
205 sometimes,
Yeah.
which Izzy tried to do, but unsuccessfully.
Yeah, he's
which
a
is
little
why
small.
Silva's better than Izzy. But I guess Silva
know,
stuck
but
around
he's
too long, and that's
not.
why he's not the GOAT. I still don't think that makes him P for P number one,
No.
because he doesn't threaten the ground game. He uses his grappling to stay upright, but
I think his grappling is a little better than you give him credit for.
it's not. I think he's a little too specialized in the striking, but
But hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
yeah, undeniably a great fighter, and our GOAT of GOATs.
Goats. If you made it to the end, thank you for watching. Definitely leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Speaking of comments, we are back with our comment shout out. We're going to list it right here.
Oh yeah, I forgot to cut my shout out.
Yeah.
We got a good one for you.
And it's pretty ridiculous, so thank you for your comment. I guess. Thank
All
you
right.
guys for watching. We'll see
Fight
you in our
Fuel
next one.
MMA signing off.